Let your breath soften. Settle your shoulders and allow the world around you to fade like a candle gently dimming at dusk. Tonight you are stepping quietly, slowly, into a world more than 4 centuries old. Not the storybook world, not the one of smiling pilgrims in tidy black clothes, but the real one. The air grows colder around you. You feel a thin layer of frost in the air, crisp against your skin. A scent reaches you, wood smoke, pine. A figure approaches, slowly, cautiously. He wears no buckles, no black hat, no polished shoes, just a woolen garment in a dull, weathered brown and a simple linen cap. He looks tired, thin, but determined. This is what the Pilgrims truly looked like. Not glamorous, not decorated, not pristine, but worn down by a year of sickness, hunger, storms, and fear. They called themselves saints, or simply the congregation. They did not celebrate Thanksgiving back in England. They did not think of themselves as founding a great nation. They were simply trying to survive. He gives you a polite nod, a gesture of wary welcome, and continues on his way toward a half-finished cabin. You watch him lift a rough wooden beam, staggering a little under its weight. His breath fogs in the cold morning air. You feel something deep inside you, a quiet understanding. These were not iconic, confident founders. They were frightened human beings clinging to faith, hunger, and hope. The settlement is smaller than you imagined, much smaller. You count the houses, 7 finished, a few more in progress. But what strikes you more is the sense of emptiness, a heaviness in the air. A woman kneels outside a home, scrubbing a wooden bowl with ash. Her face is pale, her eyes are hollow from exhaustion. She moves slowly, as if every action costs her something precious. This colony has already seen too much death. Half the population perished during the first winter. Men, women, children, whole families gone. The sickness, likely pneumonia and scurvy, and swept through their cramped quarters like a silent wind, relentless, unavoidable, a winter grim and merciless. You walk past a small graveyard behind the settlement. The markers are simple mounds of earth. Some have crude wooden planks, others have nothing at all. The Pilgrims kept their dead secret, burying them at night, hiding the graves so the surrounding tribes would not know how few colonists remained. The silence here is thick, respectful, echoing. You hear soft footsteps behind you. You turn and see a Wampanoag man watching you from the tree line. His clothing is unlike anything you've seen, a deerskin cloak decorated with careful stitching and a necklace of polished shells. His hair is braided in 2 long plaits with a feather woven into one side. His gaze is observant, curious, measured. The Wampanoag are not passive visitors to this land. They are the original inhabitants, stewards of these forests, rivers, and coastlines for thousands of years. They have villages, leaders, complex political alliances, agriculture, fishing, and spiritual traditions that predate European contact by centuries. Their leader, Usamequin Massasoit, has watched the Pilgrims carefully. He knows they are fragile. He knows they are desperate. He knows that creating peace now could bring mutual benefit. The man continues to observe you quietly. Then with a small nod, almost imperceptible, he disappears back into the trees. He was not threatening you. He was acknowledging you. This land is his world, his ancestors' world, and now it is becoming a shared space, cautiously, tentatively, between two very different peoples. The sun climbs a little higher, casting pale gold light across the settlement. Everything looks dusted in frost. You pull your shawl tighter around your shoulders. A woman offers you a small piece of cornbread, dense, coarse, barely sweet. She smiles softly, the corners of her eyes gentle, though her cheeks are sunken from a year of rationing. You taste the bread. It's earthy, a little smoky, more nourishing than delicious, but warm and welcome. Children run past you, their feet thumping against the frozen ground. Their laughter is thin but bright, echoing against the wooden walls of the settlement. A man chops wood nearby. Another repairs a roof. The scent of resin fills the cold air as pine logs split cleanly beneath the axe. Someone hums a quiet tune, an English psalm, drifting lightly on the breeze. It mixes with the distant cry of a gull, the crackle of a hearth fire, the rustle of dried corn stalks. You close your eyes, breathe slowly, and for a moment, you feel like you truly are here in this fragile world, standing on the threshold of history. You hear footsteps again, but this time they are many, dozens. A rustle of leaves, a low murmur of voices, the snapping of twigs beneath careful feet. You turn toward the forest's edge and see shapes emerging from the trees. At first they seem like shadows, but slowly, distinctly, they step into view. The Wampanoag, not a few, not a handful, but an estimated 90 men, moving as a unified group. Their clothing is striking, woven capes, deerhide mantles, feathers, beads, intricate belts, and carefully carved adornments that reflect rank, role, or family lineage. Some carry bows, others carry baskets. A few carry game on wooden poles, deer, goose, ducks, gifts of food. They are not here by accident. They are not here because they were invited in the casual sense we imagine today. They are here because Massasoit, their sachem and political leader, recognized a moment that required presence. Some scholars believe they came because they heard gunfire and thought the Pilgrims needed help. Others believe they came to reinforce their alliance, a relationship forged only months earlier. Whatever the reason, the moment is profound. Two peoples with different languages, different beliefs, different ways of living, standing together in a world that neither fully understands yet. As they approach the Pilgrims' tents, you feel it, the shift in the air, breaths held, movement slowed, hands resting near muskets. But then, Massasoit steps forward. He lifts a hand, a gesture of peace, a gesture of recognition, a gesture that has already quietly shaped the future of this settlement. The Pilgrims relax, just a little, enough to breathe again, enough to hope. You are witnessing a moment that history often smooths over, but in truth it is filled with complexity, diplomacy, caution, and humanity. The settlement comes alive with movement. Voices mingle. The crackle of fires grows louder. A pot is lifted. A pan scrapes against stone. Children race back and forth with wooden bowls. There is no long wooden table stretching across a field, no delicate linens, no polished silverware. Instead, the feast is scattered. Small fires, small circles of people, gathered around what each family has to offer. You pass one fire where a man tends to a pot of stewed beans and corn, thick and bubbling. He adds herbs, dried, fragrant, earthy, as the steam rises and vanishes into the cold air. Another fire nearby roasts fowl, likely goose, duck, or turkey, its skin slowly crisping in the flames. The smell is rich, savory, smoky. It warms the space around you. A Wampanoag hunter kneels beside another fire, preparing venison with practiced ease. He works quietly, purposefully, with the calm confidence of someone raised in harmony with this land. You see a basket of mussels freshly gathered from the shoreline, another filled with chestnuts, another with dried blueberries. Children nibble on roasted nuts, their cheeks red from the cold. One laughs, a bright, sudden burst of joy, and it warms the air around you. There is an energy here, a gentle buzz, not loud or jubilant, but earnest, hopeful, human. The fires glow brighter as the sun dips lower. Shadows stretch long across the earth, like dark fingers reaching toward the horizon. You sit on a rough bench made from a split log. A woman hands you a wooden trencher, a plate carved from a slab of wood, still smelling faintly of sap. Food is passed in no particular order, a mixture of English dishes and Wampanoag offerings. You taste smoked venison, tender and rich. Roasted waterfowl, savory and crisp. Stewed pumpkin, warm and earthy. Cornbread, dense and comforting. Mussels, briny and fresh. Nuts and berries gathered thoughtfully by Wampanoag women. It is not a feast of abundance, but a feast of gratitude. Not a celebration of prosperity, but a celebration of survival. Not a holiday, but a human moment in the aftermath of unimaginable hardship. Around you, people speak softly, Pilgrims in English, Wampanoag in their own tongue. The crackle of fire bridges the space between the languages, filling the silence with warmth. Someone begins a foot race near the tree line. Others test their strength with contests, pulling ropes, lifting stones, and laughing quietly. Children chase each other, darting through the firelight. Their shadows dance across the ground. Life, fragile but persistent, glows in their movements. Even as the fires blaze warmly, there is an undercurrent beneath everything, a quiet tension, a careful awareness. The Pilgrims know they are one bad winter away from vanishing entirely. The Wampanoag know their world is changing faster than they can predict. This feast is not merely food shared. It is diplomacy, necessity, and a survival strategy. Massasoit and Governor Bradford speak quietly in the background. They exchange small gifts, words, and observations. They are building a fragile bridge over a deep and uncertain river. And you, sitting here in the glow of the fires, can feel the weight of the moment. Two cultures vastly different coming together out of necessity, mutual need, and a cautious hope that peace, even temporary peace, might be possible. The firelight flickers softly as the Wampanoag and Pilgrims share the final moments of the feast. But little do they know, this gathering, this quiet, fragile, deeply human moment, would not become a holiday at all. Not yet. Not for centuries. After 1621, there was no annual Thanksgiving in Plymouth, no repeating feast, no special November. In fact, the Pilgrims held Thanksgivings for very different reasons: military victories, rain after drought and survival after illness, moments where divine providence seemed merciful. These Thanksgivings were fasting days, not feasting days. Imagine that for a moment. A Thanksgiving meant quiet prayer, empty tables, and bodies bowed in humility. The 1621 feast was an exception, a rare, joyful break from hardship. It would not be repeated the next year, or the year after that, or the year after that. Throughout the 1600s, Thanksgivings happened sporadically. They were not standardized, not seasonal, not recorded as annual traditions. One town would declare a day of thanks in July, another in April, another in September. There was no national holiday, no shared idea, and no shared story. The feast you just witnessed, with its warmth, smoke, and fragile peace, was largely forgotten outside of Winslow's brief mention in Mort's relation. If you wandered through the colonies in 1650 and asked someone about the first Thanksgiving, they would have no idea what you meant. By the 1700s, Thanksgivings became more common, especially in New England towns, but still, no fixed date, no mention of pies. There were no parades, nothing resembling the holiday we know. Sometimes governors declared Thanksgivings as a civic event. Other times, families simply honored them quietly. It was a patchwork quilt of local customs, not a national identity. Now let the candlelight flicker, because we drift forward in time. Your feet step softly across years, decades, and centuries. The world grows louder, busier, but also darker. By the time you arrive in the year 1863, America is torn apart by the Civil War. North against South, brother against brother, a nation bleeding. Abraham Lincoln sits at his desk, his face heavy with grief and responsibility. He reads a letter from Sarah Josepha Hale, the woman who had been campaigning for decades to create a national day of unity and gratitude. Her plea is simple: create a shared day of thanks to remind the country of what binds it together. Lincoln understands the power of symbols, the power of ritual, and the power of shared moments in a fractured time. And so, with quiet resolve, he declares the first National Thanksgiving to be held on the last Thursday of November, 1863. He asks Americans to heal the wounds of the nation and restore peace, harmony, and union. It is a whisper sent into a storm, a candle lit in the darkest hallway of American history. And it is this moment, not 1621, that created our Thanksgiving. The candle flame before you brightens again, and you step into the warm, ornate parlor of a Victorian-era home. This is where the holiday we know, the turkey, the pies, and the sentiment is truly born. Victorians adored cozy domestic scenes and sentimental holidays, creating rituals that brought families together and romanticized visions of the past. They enjoyed elaborate meals with seasonal traditions. Magazines like Godey's Lady's Book published illustrations of families gathered around tables, women in soft dresses placing golden turkeys in the center of polished dining rooms. These images were aspirational, carefully crafted fantasies meant to inspire warmth, unity, and moral goodness. And Americans loved them. They embraced them. They recreated them. Thanksgiving transformed from scattered local days of thanks into a full-blown cultural tradition. Turkey was plentiful, large enough to feed a big family, and commonly hunted. Victorian writers began praising it as the ideal holiday dish, and soon, nearly every household followed suit. This is why when you picture Thanksgiving, you picture a turkey, not goose or duck or venison. Unlike the Pilgrims, who had no butter, no flour, and no ovens, Victorians had everything needed for pies. They had sugar, spices, wheat flour, and brick ovens. Pumpkin pie became a warm, nostalgic, comforting centerpiece of American imagination. Its golden color and scent of cinnamon, nutmeg, and clove felt like autumn wrapped in pastry. Victorians added cranberry sauces, bread stuffing, buttered rolls, mashed potatoes, and sweet puddings. None of these appeared at the 1621 feast, but they defined the modern table. This era truly shaped the Thanksgiving we know today, a warm, nostalgic, and comforting. The candle flickers again, revealing forgotten rituals that once danced along the edges of Thanksgiving history. In the early 1900s, children dressed in rags and old clothes and wandered the streets begging for treats. It looked almost like an early version of Halloween. They would knock on doors saying, "Anything for Thanksgiving?" This tradition lasted into the 1930s before being replaced by modern parades. Victorians loved ghost stories, especially around late autumn holidays. Families would gather by lamplight and tell tales of spirits, lost loves, and mysterious happenings. Thanksgiving, like Christmas, had its own chilling stories told in warm rooms with crackling fires. The wishbone tradition came from ancient Europe, rooted in superstitions of luck and prophecy. Victorians adopted it and tied it to Thanksgiving meals. Two people pull the dried bone, and whoever gets the larger piece is granted a wish. The candlelight dims, and you feel a shift again, a soft swirl of cold air, like a door opening between centuries. You find yourself once more standing among the flickering fires of 1621. Children are now drowsy, leaning against their mothers. The sky has grown darker, streaked with faint stars. You hear the murmur of two languages mingling softly and weaving together like gentle threads. The Pilgrims and Wampanoag sit in quiet reflection. No grand speeches, no declarations, just humans resting after unimaginable hardship. You watch the fire crackle and feel the warmth against your hands. You realize this moment, this rare, fleeting, delicate moment, is not about a holiday. It is about endurance and gratitude and the fragile hope of two peoples who did not know their future, but shared this night in peace. Let your breath soften again. Let your shoulders relax. Carry with you the truth behind the story, a truth woven from resilience, from humanity, from complexity, and from quiet, enduring grace. Thank you for spending this quiet moment in history with me here at Peace of the Past. May peace settle gently around you now in the glow of our shared candlelight. Until we meet again, may your night be calm and your dreams timeless.